Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wisdom for Those Awakening live stream. My name is Robert Cosmar, and I am a astrologer and a conscious channel. And for those of you that have been here, you know what we're all about. And for those of you that are just watching, this particular channel is a support live stream for those of you that have questions regarding the world events and also the process of spiritual awakening and what you may be dealing with in regards to the events that are going on in the world around you. So, if you'd be so kind, those of you that are with me right now, if you would say something in the chat box to let me know that you're hearing my voice, and we'll begin the broadcast. So, if you can hear me, I would appreciate your comment in the chat window, and we will start. And we start always with me asking you, what are your concerns and what are your questions? Okay, good morning, State of Awakening. Welcome to the broadcast. My partner CJ is also here with us, and she, I'm sure, will at some point pop in and say hello to everybody. Kachinala, good to see you here as well. And as I said here a little bit ago, my main, I guess, focus or format at this point of the broadcast is to ask you, are there any particular questions, concerns, or things that you're dealing with or going through that you want to discuss here in the broadcast? This helps us to kind of get a flow and a focus, okay, on what it is that we can do to help each other. And Crystal Boo Persuasion, welcome to the broadcast. Good to see you here. Well, actually, State of Awakening, Toby is no longer with us. Toby went over to the Rainbow Bridge several months ago, and we have a new member of the family called Riri. Her Nova Marie is actually her name. Okay. Okay, Catherine, for somehow you got into the private chat. If you'd like.
I don't have a place to type in the other one.
Okay.
I don't know how.
It doesn't show. CJ's having a little problem here syncing up with the chat.
Over there to type in. No. Just go ahead with your program, hon.
Okay, S. Saunders, welcome to the broadcast. Good to see you here. Okay. So, anybody have anything in particular that they want to address? Do you want to address more of what is going on in the world regarding what we see happening? How you're dealing with this seemingly endless bombardment of changes that are affecting us mentally and emotionally? Okay. Dealing with fear. Okay. Dealing with fear. Dealing with a situation that is beyond your wildest imagination. Okay. Nightmare of Tech Bro. You'll have to explain that a little bit more for me there, Kachinala. I don't know if exactly what it is you're referencing here. But I think that, one of the areas that I can be of help to you that I've tried to address in the videos is, under our current situation, what is the big overall challenge? Okay. The big overall challenge is, how do you deal with your fear? Okay. How do you deal with your fear when emotionally you feel like this quote unquote rascal has, or two of them actually, have stolen the country, are attempting to conquer the world in whatever form they want to do that? Okay. How do you get over that feeling of dread? How do you get over that feeling of fear that the secure life up until this point, maybe that you had, feels very threatened? Okay. And how important is that? Okay. One of the things that I learned very soon as I began to have difficulty doing astrology videos, because I was kind of caught in a situation. Okay, and I'm going to address State of Awakening's comment here in a second here. Finding a reason to participate in society, it feels very useless at this point to do anything. I do participate and extend my services to others, but the negativity is overwhelming. Okay, we're going to deal with this. And what I'm telling you may not seem like it makes a lot of sense, but from the standpoint of your own awakening and awareness, it makes perfect sense. Emotionally, logically, what I'm going to tell you may not make any sense to you, but it is a critical test that we in the world, those of us that are aware, will have to pass. And it has to do to a certain degree with forgiveness, and it has to do with trust and acceptance and non-judgment. All right? Emotionally and mentally, day by day, we are getting bombarded with the two extremes, the two political extremes. One is saying, way to go, Trump, keep on doing it. Way to go, Elon, do it. We don't care what you do, how you screw things up. And the other side is the other side that also mirrors that fear, that anxiety, that our freedom's being taken away. Okay, if in fact that actually was freedom. Okay. To overcome the fear and the dread of what it is that you feel is happening requires that you surrender your emotions and your negative thoughts and feelings to a higher conscious plane of realization. In other words, you have to surrender those fears. You have to surrender that anxiety. You have to surrender that dread, because basically what those things have to do with are your imagination. And you have allowed your imagination, and the news media has kept feeding that, to convince you that even though the worst has not actually happened, that it's going to happen. All right? And depending upon your level of awareness, you may not feel that you have any power to do that, but you do. Okay? The problem with living in duality for most of your life is that you feel that you have no freedom to remove your thoughts and your emotions. This is one of the critical aspects of learning to meditate, is that it shows you, it can show you, your ability to escape the pollution of your mental and emotional body and to interact with a blissful state of awareness, which all of you are connected to already, and you possess this. But if you have not committed and dedicated yourself to that inner journey, all right, what you're limited to are those moments of intuition and telepathy. All right. As you consciously evolve, you deepen that connection intuitively and telepathically with your higher self and your guidance. You begin to know, and knowing by far is extremely better than believing. Okay? Because as long as you believe, you're comparing beliefs. Somebody will say something, and one day it seems to you like, oh, that seems true. And then somebody else the next day says something, and you say, no, that's true. All right, well, you don't know the truth in that state. Okay? You only know what it is you're being told, and it's feeding your imagination. Okay, so if there is a healthy reason for learning to meditate, it's so that you understand and experience that you can separate from your mind and your emotions, and that it is extremely important. All right, it's kind of like kindergarten 101 for those of us that want to awaken and to go to a higher level consciously. It's like the universe is saying, okay, if you want to join in with what we're doing and understand what we're doing, you have to separate from all the contamination going on, all the paranoia, all the politics, which essentially is just imagination. Okay. All right, Edna, welcome to the broadcast. And Beck, it's good to see you here again. Okay, Cachinella, solid French Senate speech. Europe knows the traitor. Okay, propping up Putin. Okay. Okay. You know, Cachinella, again, I'm going to address what my experience was. Because if you're wrestling, if you're dreading, All right. What is going on? You're essentially giving in to your imagination, your emotions, and the negative polluted thinking that is out there daily. I basically shut off watching MSNBC. I don't get emails from news groups that essentially are constantly hounding the fear and dread thing that's going on. Because I feel, and I know consciously within inside of myself, that there is a higher purpose for what we see going on, even though it is something which we did not anticipate. You're never going to know the truth of what is happening unless you establish your own connection with your higher self. You will be guided by your imagination and your emotions. And if you're watching the news, you're going to get polluted. Okay? What you want and what you need is the conscious assurance within inside of yourself that you're okay, that everything's going on and it'll be okay. Okay? This is something that I go over and over with my guidance, because I take my anxiety and I take my moments of dread and fear and stuff to my higher self and my guidance, and I say, what the hell's going on? I mean, I'm that way. I just, what the hell's going on? And then in that communion, I'll get several things that'll happen. One of the things that happens almost every time I astral, okay, within my relationship with my higher self, is they constantly tell me patience. This is a daily thing when I meditate. Patience, because like you, okay, like every human being on the planet with what we see going on, uh, there is an impatience. There is this desire to want to control and make the painful, hypothetical painful go away. Okay. And what we're ignoring is the message in it. Okay. We're ignoring the fact that Donald Trump and Elon Musk do not rule the universe. If what is happening was not a part of the universe's plan for humanity, it would not happen. Okay? They're just tools. All right? What they're doing, probably in the long run, in many ways is not bad. How they're doing it may not be good, because there's probably a lack of sensitivity there. Okay? And of course, for a lot of people, it throws a lot of anxiety and fear back on themselves. But again, what's happening here is that maybe for the first time in a lifetime, we're having to decide, do we want to trust the rest of our life upon the government, or do we want to trust ourselves? And do we want to realize that we can trust the universe? Okay. You can't really trust the universe unless you trust yourself. And to do that, you have to know yourself, because in knowing yourself, you're going to know the universe. You're going to understand who you are, what's going on, okay, why it's going on. All right. This is what helps you to overcome the dread and the emotions. You elevate your focus from your imagination and your emotions, and you transport yourself consciously into a part of yourself that is not filled with fear and anxiety and dread. Okay? I call this conscious knowledge. Okay? Very good, Kachinawa, because it's poison. Okay? Elena, welcome to the broadcast. Okay? Okay. And Elena, that's probably true from an emotional perspective. Okay? But I can tell you this from personal experience. Unless you can find a way to consciously forgive Elon Musk and Donald Trump for what you see happening, because they are judgments that you're making, judgments that are based upon your emotions, you'll not be able to escape the fear and the dread that accompany them. Okay? And I hope that you take that in the right way. Okay? It's not to put down your comment there. but it's to try to show you that focusing upon what Trump's doing and who Trump is and what Trump has done, okay, even though there is a lot of verification and there's a lot of people that will back that up, okay, it's not our place to pass judgment. Our place is to surrender to our higher self consciously and not to focus upon the imagination, the dread, the fear. All right. This is the only way to get through this madness. Okay. Okay. Well, Alana, thank you. But I understand your feelings. There's times when both CJ and I, grit our teeth, and we feel the dread of what I see. If I happen to glance by, something, on the internet, Fox News or whatever, or even in the feeds, the news feeds, you can't resist going, oh my God, what now? Where's this going to go? But you have to understand, all right, it's your imagination. All right. Those things may never happen. All right. But the damage that it does to you is that it keeps you in a lower state of consciousness. Now, some people would say, oh, you're just denying the reality of what's happening. No. Okay. I'm aware of what I see printed by somebody who has vested business interests in putting out garbage, whether they viewed it, whether they vetted it or not. Fox News, MSNBC, all those major networks, their major interest is their income. All right. How much money can they bring in? And they know right now the only way that they can bring in more money is to draw in people who are filled with anxiety and dread and fear. Okay. Cachinella, we must get up, stand up for our rights, no head in sand. And I think we talked about that once before, Cachinella, and I don't want to come across in this particular discussion here like that you should not do things that you feel led to do or that you feel that are right. Okay. My main concern would be that if in doing so, that doesn't change anything, what's your next objective? How are you going to deal with it? Okay. Do you understand the fear that can be behind, all right, the idea of trying to raise up some kind of resistance? Is it not possible that the universe is trying to take us beyond politics to our personal inner empowerment, to the recognition of that empowerment, to a new future, okay, beyond the one that we could imagine? Because I'm sure a lot of us have at times, and a lot probably still do, think that the only way for this to actually straighten out is if the Democratic Party comes back in power. All right, well, you've got quite a long time to wait for that opportunity. Okay, Pierre, he is where the infinite becomes specific and finite. So it is rather like becoming the winds of the hurricane and become the eye that is still. It might help one focus and be. Yeah, it's pretty heavy this morning for the broadcast, Pierre, but I think I understand what you're saying. Again, okay, for those of you who are with me here and you're watching the broadcast, understand this. It won't appeal to your logic. It won't appeal to your emotional state. But if you really truthfully want to understand what is happening, why it is happening on a global, on a national, and on a scale of your personal location, you need to focus on your commitment internally to your higher self and your guidance. You need to do that, okay? Because you need to have a new view of what is going on. And that will help you to look at yourself a little differently. Sometimes when we are awakened or we have an intuition or a telepathic experience, we have a tendency to think that we've arrived, but you have not arrived. You haven't even gotten to first base yet. All right. There are things that we all carry within us from past lives. Okay. From our past lives and from this lifetime that contaminate our ability to be free. Okay. Okay. Cachinella, neutrality can be compliance at this time. Maybe, Cachinella, I'll say maybe. Like I said, you have to trust your own inner feeling about it, okay, about how you feel about that. Um, I have to follow my guidance. I have to follow what I'm being shown. I have to go through the changes that I know that I'm being brought through, and that would be the same for everybody. Okay. Um, but again, going back to what I said a little bit ago, if all of that effort does not bring about the feeling of being in control again, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with that? Okay. Those types of things, if they're out of control, lead to violence. Okay. The opposite of that would be surrender to what is. And in that surrender, the revelation of knowing what you didn't know prior to that. Okay. Because your relationship with your higher self is all about knowing, not believing, not thinking, not imagining, okay, but consciously knowing and understanding what is happening and why. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. We're having a good discussion today. And I know, like I said, probably some of what I'm saying to you may not relate, or it may be a little irritating even. Okay. Because of the fact that I'm saying that forgiveness, really forgiveness of your entire life, of the things in your life that didn't work out the way that you thought they should, is critical to your ability to raise your consciousness. And the more that you understand your relationship with your higher self through meditation, okay, the more that becomes very clear. Okay. We have to trust, accept, and not judge our life. And I realize that's totally contrary to the thoughts and the thinking and the imagination of most people daily. But if you're awakening, you're one of those souls that has chosen to leave behind, in a sense, the worldly view of things and to consciously embrace a deeper, richer, conscious fullness. Okay. And again, what I'm saying there may ring true, may not ring true for you, but it's something that you will discover, need to discover for yourself. Okay. The importance of what it is that is happening in the world. Okay. And I know the impact of what is happening. Okay. And like I said a little bit ago, it came to my realization that watching the news, the polarity issue going on back and forth, and the talk that in many cases is not vetted at all. It's just something put out there. All it does is stir up emotion. It stirs up the fear. And that's not where you want to go. Okay. Elena. Okay, Dallas, welcome to the broadcast. Okay, Cachinella, Pluto will plow shadows of Aquarius group consciousness, the collective, the power of peace inside. I think that's very true. I think that's very true. But I think, Cachinella, the difficulty is going to be is that it's not manifesting the way that we expected it to. Because of the way things were going in the summer there and the reception that was received by Kamala Harris coming into the process, there was this overwhelming hope that, yes, she put Trump under her foot in the debates, and yes, you know, we're going to win. And then when it didn't happen, there was, the question, of was there cheating? Was there lying? And even some people came in and said, well, did the Democrats, are they complicit somehow in what's going on? Why are they not looking? Okay. And again, the main thrust and the main question of our times, okay, and an aspect of Pluto, Cachinella, and you already know this, I'm sure. Pluto, any manifestation of Pluto kicks off fear. It plows fear right up from underneath the foundations. Okay, so we're at the mercy of it. Pluto forces change, whether you like it or not. Wherever it's hitting in your horoscope. And in this case, it's hitting Aquarius, going to be there for about 15 to 18 years, I think. So we're looking at massive, uncontrollable change that if things don't go the way we emotionally want them to go, how are we going to cope with that? What is that going to show us? What is that trying to teach us? Okay. Have we found the peace that passes understanding within us? Or are we still living with dread, living with fear, afraid of the changes that may be thrust upon us? Those are the big questions, okay? If you're empowered by your higher self, you're very flexible and you're not as afraid. You may have your moments of weakness, but you're not as afraid. For those that are caught in their imagination and they're being beat up by the news media. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Shadow racism. You know, that's another one of those things that's all a part, Kachinala, of the fear. Okay. Uh, and it's a part of the fear that a lot of people don't realize. They see the outward manifestation of it in the news, you know, where they may experience it in their own personal life. But on a very basic level, racism is because there is a fear, there is a sense of separation, there is a sense of you being other than me, this type of thing. When in reality, the whole universe is one. Okay, but humanity has been given the freedom through duality to decide to believe whatever it wants. Okay, um, it's a very difficult issue, a very touching issue, and it's something that we have to personally understand, accept, and encounter and deal with it consciously. Okay. As I mentioned before, one of the things that I hope to do in this particular broadcast is to share with you conscious knowledge, to bring to your awareness an understanding of what the inner life looks like. Okay. What is within you? What are the things that um, are happening to us? Okay. Conscious knowledge is something that can come intuitively to a person from time to time. But if you're inwardly working with your higher self and your guidance, it is a further spotlight placed upon you and your issues. Okay. And for example, Kachinala, if person had an issue of racism, that would be a focus of your higher self because that doesn't exist in the higher planes. Okay. Okay, Elena, can you imagine if China shifted? I love to meditate on that. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of talk going on about things, you know, that could happen, may happen, you know, and the only thing I can tell you about that is simply this. The main concern, the main focus of your life should be meditatively on establishing your relationship with your higher guidance, because only there are you going to see the truth for yourself of who you are and of what is actually happening. Okay? I mean, that is the thrust of those of us that are aware and awake. It's this realization of a higher conscious self. Okay? And if we stop short of that relationship, we're limited in our perceptions of what is true, of what is real. Okay? And we are affected and infected by others, okay, by their state, by the news, by their focus for whatever their reasons are. Okay? To be empowered is to be consciously whole within yourself. It is to know the truth. It is to know yourself as the truth. Okay? That is the fear. That is the peace that passes understanding talked about in the Bible. That is the everlasting life that was talked about in the Bible. All right? That is the rebirth. It is the second birth. Okay? And I realize it throws you right back on yourself. There are no excuses. Okay? If you don't know the truth and the truth has contacted you, you may make them. All right? But if you do, what you're doing is blocking out your higher self being able to show you why you don't have a more effective relationship with it, why you have not reached that desire level, okay, that hope that you have carried with you of being enlightened or being consciously more aware or having Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, okay? It is a commitment. And again, it varies with different people. I don't believe that everybody who is consciously aware necessarily is going to reach a high level of enlightened awareness. Maybe they're not supposed to. Okay, there's no guarantee that I'll go any further than where I have in my awareness. All right, but I know where my commitment is. I know how important that is to what I'm able to share with you. Okay, and by rights, I have to put that responsibility back on you. Okay, because I'm not the answer. I may share things that feel true to you and that may inspire you or motivate you, but the onus is on you. How committed are you? Because right now, with all the stuff you see going on that's affecting the planet Earth and it's affecting countries and stuff, all of this is the universe saying it's time for change. It's time for a massive change. And yes, with Pluto, there's always fear, okay? Because it's being taken out of your hands. Okay. All right, Dallas, thank you so much. Okay. So, for those of you that are suffering or that have suffered, okay, I can tell you emphatically that the power to overcome that is within you. You have that power. And to just forgive and to forget things that have happened to you, I know how hard that is. If somebody, were to kill somebody in my family, I know how hard that would be. You would have to understand that and see that from a higher level than just your mind and your emotions. You see where I'm going with this? The things that you see happening in the world, you have to see them from a higher plane than what you're seeing them now. And if you're not meditatively going within yourself to discover these things, you're caught in your mental and emotional bodies and you're going around in circles. And it seems like that thing is going into a hole deeper and deeper and deeper. You do not want to go into that hole. Okay? Because at a certain point, you're not going to believe there's any answer above what your emotions tell you. And there are people that are out there right now. Okay? They're headed on that path. All right? This is why, and I think we talked about this once before, Kachinala, if you can be a part of peaceful protest and you know that it's a peaceful protest, okay, I don't see anything wrong with that if you feel that you need to do that type of thing. But you got to be careful about those that are fueling emotion and fire and energy and hatred and violence, because they will exist. Okay. And there's a better way. There's a higher way. Okay. Because politics is not the answer anymore. Okay. I have no idea in the future how this is all going to pan out. Okay. But I do know this: politics is not the answer. There has to be a unification, a conscious unification that motivates humanity to where both sides see and come to an agreement from an enlightened future, an enlightened consciousness. Okay? Okay. Well, thank you, Ed. Now, I hear people tell me that all the time. And of course, I feel the energy of what I'm talking to you, which is a comfort to me, you know, because I know I'm walking on very delicate ground right now talking about this stuff. But I have to speak the truth to you. I have to say these things to you so that you'll consider. If you feel it within your heart, if you'll consider what I'm saying to you, then I have accomplished what I'm doing this support group for, so that you don't get distracted. You don't get caught up in the darkness. Okay? If you live in judgment, you are getting stuck in the darkness. Think about that. You might be aware and awake. You might be psychic. You might be intuitive. You might have your guides talking to you. But if you are judging anyone, anything, including yourself, you're embracing the darkness. Okay? That's something profoundly to think about. Okay? And those are the things, like I said, that you begin to consciously understand as you develop your relationship with your higher self. Okay? You may think that you've arrived because you're psychic and you're intuitive and you're aware and all this type of stuff. You don't know the half of it. Okay? Wait till the universe decides that it wants to take you into the deepest, darkest dungeon of your fears and your anxieties. Okay? Then you begin to grow. Then you begin to experience freedom. Then you overcome the mental and emotional torment that things are created by what we see happening. Okay? Okay, let's see. Orange Rage Bates. Very much so, Kachinawa. Our witness within has no judgment or death. You said what I just said and all that verbatim there in a nutshell. That's what you are to seek and find. Okay. Remember that old biblical saying, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be opened? That kind of speaks of persistence. Okay. How determined are you? You know, somebody who's ready to beat down the door is ready. And your higher self and guidance will respect that. Okay, Dallas, so much pain and fear which results in violence and tortured feelings, we must be able to detach by seeking our higher selves. That's exactly true, too. It's exactly the truth. Okay? You have to find that place of escape within inside of yourself. That's where the escape is. That's where the freedom is. I'll even go a little bit further. That's where the magic is. Okay? You may not know yet that you are creating your reality and that the life that you have lived and the experiences that you're going through, you are creating them by who you are. And until you discover who you really are, you're going to have these things reflected in your daily life. The frustrations, okay? The temptation to pain and anger, all right? Because to fully embrace your relationship with your higher self, you have to be willing to surrender the person that you think you are, the person that your mind and your emotions tell you who you are. You have to be willing to surrender that. And to surrender that person, you have to realize that you need to let go of it. You need to forgive it. You need to rise above it. All right? Meditation is for rising consciously above your mental and emotional bodies. Okay? It is to becoming a part of the oneness again. It is to becoming a part of the healing energy. All right? Of trusting your life. Okay? Your life as it is, my life as it is perfectly exactly the way it's supposed to be, according to where we are, according to what we wanted to learn in this lifetime. Okay? And we have a choice, and that choice is to surrender complaining and whining and bitching about what we don't like, and surrendering and asking, what is it that I don't see? What is it that I don't know? What is it that I'm holding on to that keeps me in this spiral of pain and anxiety? Okay. You have to learn to surrender that old self. Okay. Return to innocence. Good choice of words. You're hitting home runs, Kachinala. Okay. Innocence. You know, and I know how hard that is to grasp with your mind and your emotions. If you are mentally and emotionally tortured and tormented, for anybody to come up to you and say, peace, peace, okay, from that place of negativity, the only thing you can say, and you may not say it to them verbally, is, are you out of your mind? You must be nuts. You don't know what my life's all about. Okay? In doing so, you may not realize you're judging yourself. Okay? The reason why, the key reason why you should not judge Okay, the real meaning scripturally of judge not lest ye be judged was that you are the power behind that judgment, not some deity, okay, way out there in the ethers. You and I are. When we judge ourselves. When we judge, we're condemning ourselves by saying that this is not perfect. The universe wouldn't do this. Okay, well, I think reality can teach you that the universe, we, as parts of the universe, bring about most of the pain and suffering on ourselves that we do and don't know. Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. I knew a little bit about, John Lennon in regards to his change and Yoko Ono and different things like that. And of course, the Beatles went to India and they got caught up with the Maharishi, and it's debatable how that worked out, you know. Um, but it definitely showed that the band was forced to grow and change. At times you could tell that they wanted to stay the Beatles and they wanted to make music and they wanted to feel that love that, millions offered to them, but they realized it couldn't last. Okay, and they had to surrender to their own individual paths. Ringo to his, he's still doing his. John, of course, died. George for a while, and then Paul, he's still alive. Okay, but they are a proof and point that nothing ever stays the same. And when they were going to India, obviously there was a sense of what next. That's the thing that people don't understand and realize about fame, success, wealth, is that you imagine that it's going to give you the answer, or that it's going to give you the power and the peace, blah, 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 blah. Okay. But it doesn't last. The only thing that lasts is your relationship within yourself to your higher consciousness. That is the only truth that will last. And that's why you're seeing so much happening on such a scale in the world right now. Okay. And you have to admit to yourself, okay, even though you may not like to admit this about Trump and Elon Musk and the people in, Congress, for example, and the wealthy, that for those of us that don't have that particular position in life, there's a great deal of jealousy about that. Okay. People who are poor are jealous of those that are rich because they think that if they became rich, that their problems would end and that they wouldn't have the anxiety and the fear and the dread. But you do. And those that are wealthy have their own fears and anxiety and dread. Okay. And this is why for centuries, everybody from the Buddha, okay, on through the other mystics and the gurus and things like that, it may seem extreme, but if they have found conscious freedom within inside of themselves, they understand real magic. They understand the influence and the impact of themselves upon life and themselves and others. Okay. Um, and another way of saying it is that you don't know the depth of fear and its grip upon you. You don't know what lies beyond that fear of dread. Okay. First of all, for most people, they don't want to admit it. What they'll do is that they'll drink it away or try to, or they'll drug it away or they'll try to, or they'll get involved in their work and hope that that goes away. You see, you never escape the truth about yourself until you finally come to grips with yourself. Okay. Yeah, Dallas, money doesn't make anything better. The root of evil. I think accurately, Dallas, it's the love of money. Okay. I would not say that a person who is aware and awake could not be wealthy, but their view of that wealth would be totally different than the person who has worked to build a fortune. Okay. So there's a difference there. I'm sure that there are masters around the world that are wealthy. Okay. But their view of that wealth is not the way you would think that it is. Okay. Okay. State of awakening. Whenever I consider what they have that I don't, I balance it with considering what it costs them to get it. There are so many things, and CJ and I have talked about this from time to time. There are things that a person who has not dealt with wealth has no idea of because they haven't grown into it. You hear, for example, about people who win lottos and go bankrupt within a very short period of time. There's a reason for that. Okay. Wealth changes your life dramatically from your family beyond. Okay. There's so many stories of people who became wealthy and they either gave money to family members, and of course, that created a nightmare in the family. Family members began to fall apart in their relationships. Uh, it's a very fragile thing. And unless you're in that position, you have no idea, absolutely no idea of what it means to be wealthy in terms of physical wealth or fame. Okay. I put a post out over on Substack, okay, about why people seek fame. Okay. For them, it's the appreciation, it's the love they get back, okay, from the populace. But it's also because they can't love themselves. They feel they have to get it some other way. All right. So they compromise themselves. Okay. That was very good state of awakening. They don't know. Some do very good with it. Others use it for power over others. Very true, Dallas. Very true. Okay. And if you look at the situation that's going on, let's say, for example, politically, I don't think that the Republicans are totally wrong in wanting to cut costs. Okay. And I'm talking about in the long term. Okay. And it's not wrong that the Democrats are concerned about those that are less fortunate. Okay. But in the same sense, we don't want to create a world full of victims. All right. That's not healthy for anyone. Okay. Living in fear is not healthy for anyone. Okay. All of these things that are going on, that we're seeing going on, is the way that the universe is trying to clean house, put the onus back on ourselves for how our future works itself out, and to show us and to reveal to us our personal power and what we can and can do, what we can accomplish if we apply ourselves, okay, to inner growth and consciousness, and if we follow the guidance. Okay, just the perception of wealth by family members can change relationships. Very definitely. Very definitely. There are so many things that wealth can do that are not good. Okay. I understand why some people that are wealthy, famous people that are wealthy, they're wise enough to know that they don't want to give their kids their money because they know what it'll do to them. Okay. Parents that are wise enough to love their kids who are very famous and who don't care about their kids being famous and make them understand, I love you. You don't have to be famous like daddy. All right. Those kids can grow up healthy because they're loved regardless. If they have talent, I'm sure that that particular parent will encourage that talent. And in a lot of cases, kids that are born into those families, they are talented and they are going to be famous. But it's how you deal with it. Okay. It's how you deal with it. Is it something that you put on if you put it on your backpack, your ego on your backpack, and you keep filling up that backpack, or do you see a higher purpose, a higher responsibility, okay, in it all? Do you have to, you know, tell the world, I'm wealthy, look at me, okay, I'm famous, look at me, you know? I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. My dream, my purpose, my objective is to share from my heart those things that my guidance is sharing with me. And that's enough. Okay, that's enough. In many ways, both CJ and I are kind of the type of people that are very private. We don't socialize a lot. Our socialization is between our communication and our love for each other. Okay, and what we write, what we're given, and what we can bounce off each other. We're very blessed in that sense. Okay, there are areas of our life where we would like to have more freedom to do certain things, but there are a lot of pitfalls that can get in the way and can be very harmful if you're not wise enough, you know, to learn how to handle it. Okay, any other questions? We've got about 5 minutes here. Wasn't quite sure. I'm usually not quite sure when we begin these sessions exactly where I'm going to go, but it kind of took on a life of its own, thank God. And it's so important. And I want to say this to you again. You're asking questions, no matter what they are, okay, is the fuel that makes this support live stream what it is. It's not always what I have to say or what I plan. It is the interaction between you and me and our discussion. Okay. And sometimes those discussions can be difficult because of the fact that we're dealing with very touchy situations that have a long history of painful issues. Okay. And the ways that we overcome them is through higher conscious awareness. And that doesn't happen overnight in most cases. But if you're focused within consciously, okay, to your guidance and your higher self, they'll show you the truth of these things. Okay. They'll help you to understand why everything's happening the way that it is. Okay. 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 My partner CJ there expressed her view. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? Thank you so much for being here, for sharing. I'm glad to hear that you feel the energy that I feel as I'm talking to you, because I feel like that, in a sense, I'm transmitting that energy from another part of myself. I know that, I recognize that. Okay. And I'm hoping that the words that I'm saying to you are helpful to you. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we're at 57 minutes and 30 seconds. So any other questions at this point? I'm going to be doing a video. I've mentioned this and haven't gotten to it because of other things that are going on. I'm going to be doing an astrology video here probably in the next day or so that shows the effect of both Donald Trump and Elon Musk upon the United States of America. There is an astrological signification of their effect upon America. And I'm going to do a video talking about that so that you get an idea. Okay? Okay. And it can be, Brad Dilly's mom. Okay, it's just a tool, a very handy one. Don't want to wear it out. Okay. All right. Okay. Oligarchy, yeah, depending upon the soul of the person who is in that position, it definitely could have an effect. And let's be honest about it. The universe is a combination of dark and light energies. The appearance is that ultimately the universe wants to expand and evolve and become more whole. But that's not going to make those other dark entities just go away. They will never go away. Okay? But they are, in a sense, an example. They are a lesson to learn about the effect of heading down maybe the wrong path. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful, okay? Because what you judge as them being down a wrong path is the higher self using that dark energy to help possibly heal others. This is the difficulty with good and evil and good and bad. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi said one time in one of the Star Wars movies to Luke Skywalker. Says basically there is no good and evil. It's a matter of perspective. Now what you have to do You have to convince yourself that all of this is a matter of perspective and not get caught into judging it, because in doing so, you pull yourself down. Okay, we come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for being here. And again, I hope and trust that what we shared today has been helpful to you. And, you can always email me if you want to, and we can discuss further some of these things. Okay, Beck, I don't become negative with what is going on because it is so dysfunctional. I can't predict, okay, or assume what will happen hour to hour. Okay, very wise comments. Okay, that definitely is a bigger picture, and hopefully you guys will become more comfortable with that as you realize it for yourself. Okay, bye bye from CJ and myself.